Hi everyone, it's Karen at Love Your Land, and we're down in my basement today. I know it's a little bit dark, but we're not going to be down here long, so don't worry. Today I'm processing tomatoes, and then I'm going to make spaghetti sauce, and then I'm going to can them, and I thought I would bring you along to show you how I do it. First off, this particular unit, not everybody uses a food mill. I use a food mill because even though I don't mind peels and seeds, I do mind cores. And if I was just doing a small batch, it's easy enough to core them by hand, I would do that. But I always try to do between 30 and 50 pounds of tomatoes at a time. And so obviously coring 30 to 50 pounds of tomatoes at a time by hand would be very, very time consuming. So that's why I use this food mill. So for starters, I bring my tomatoes inside and I just fill the sink with water and rinse them off really. I don't treat my plants with any kind of chemicals or anything, so there's really nothing on there that I'm worried about. So rinse them off and then I quarter them. Even if, unless they're like golf ball, what's the other ball? Softball. If they're like softball size, then you're going to want to quarter them and then cut those in half too. But basically, you want to quarter them up or cut them into pieces that are about this big, maybe even a little bit bigger, but this is probably a good size, okay? The other thing I do is I do take the stems out, right, as I'm throwing them in the water to rinse them off. I take the green stem off and get that out of the mix. I don't want that in. I don't want to have to strain that out. So let's get started. What you're going to need if you do use a food mill like this, by the way, this is the Norpro Sauce Master. You're going to need a shallow container to capture the puree. It needs to be shallow because this particular unit, there's not a lot of clearance between where it comes out of and your counter. So if it's taller than this, you're going to have to tilt it to get it out from underneath this part, and it will spill. Trust me. The other thing you're going to need is a container behind this unit, because on the back side of this unit is where the quote waste comes out. I don't throw it away, don't worry, I do use it, but it does come out. It's all peels and seeds and cores, and so that goes right underneath there, okay? So let's get started. I've already filled the hopper with tomatoes, and now you simply take this pusher that it comes with. I need to sneeze. And you just start gently pushing them down. You don't have to, use force to get them in there. You just sort of guide them along so that they go through here, and the puree will come out here again, and the waste will come out in the back. All right, let's go. Whoops. And that's it. And then I do this for a little bit because there is still some tomato left in this down below here. But anyway, so I do that, and then I do it again and again and again until I get through my 30, 40, 50 pounds of tomatoes. So that's it for now down here. Why don't you guys go upstairs, get a snack, watch TV, whatever, and when I'm done with the rest of this bowl, I'll come upstairs and we can make sauce together. Or at least I'll talk to you about sauce. I'm not sure if I'm going to have you watch me put herbs in, but we'll figure it out when we get there, okay? Sounds good? All right, see you in a bit. Okay, we're done. That didn't take too long, did it? Now we're in the kitchen. I have two pots going. This pot here is the peels and seeds and tomato bits that came out of that back side. It's been simmering for quite a while, and what I'm trying to do is get all of the pieces of tomato to fall off the skins. When it's done, I'm going to take it off the burner, let it cool, and then use my immersion blender, which is over there. I'm going to use my immersion blender and there's going to blend it all up, and then I'm going to take this strainer and I'm going to use a metal ladle and strain it all through. That's a separate video. I've already done it actually, but I'll put it on YouTube and on my Facebook page so you guys can check out how I do that. When you're done with that, you end up with this really thick, rich, really nice tomato base, and then I'll add that into this pot. this pot is the spaghetti sauce. I've already added all the ingredients. I decided not to film me putting the ingredients in because this is not a cooking show, and I didn't really think you guys would care to see me put oregano in there. But I did use, the recipe that I use that I like is Barbara Kingsolver's recipe from her book Animal Vegetable Miracle. And you can actually go to that website, animalvegetablемiracle.com, click on recipes, and you can find her spaghetti sauce recipe if you're interested. I think it's called Family Secret Tomato Sauce or something like that. But the important part, and most important part probably of this whole video, if I'm going to be talking to anybody who hasn't canned yet, if you've never canned, buy one of these or borrow one of these, an official canning guide. This is obviously the Ball canning guide, but this is a really good one. My sister got it for me. Thank you, Julie. But it's really important to know how to safely can stuff. For example, with spaghetti sauce, if you're just water bath canning, which is what we're going to be doing, this is not pressure canning. So if you're water bath canning, you can't add things like meat, no oil, and you can't even add certain vegetables because it'll change the acidity level in your sauce. And if your food, whatever you're water bath canning, if it doesn't have a high enough, a safe acidity level, then it's not safe to store, and of course not safe to eat. You could make the food, put it in jars, and put it in the refrigerator and eat it as a regular perishable item, but you cannot store it if the acidity levels are not high enough. So, with that said, I'm going to let these things do what they do. I have the lid off of the spaghetti sauce because I want it to simmer down and get thicker. I have the lid on this one because I don't want the liquid to evaporate in this one so much. I want the liquid will actually help sort of break down all of the tomato bits and parts and whatnot. So while that's doing that, I'm going to go sit down and take a break, and then when this is done, we'll come back and we'll actually do the canning. Okay? Talk to you guys in a little bit. Okay, the sauce is done, but before we get to canning it, we have to sterilize our jars. So I have 7 quart-sized jars in this canning pot, and they're sitting on a rack. You don't want your jars ever sitting directly in the bottom of the pot. So they're sitting on the rack. The water is simmering. I have the lid off right now just to show you. I'm going to put that right back on. As soon as I put it back on, it's going to start boiling again. Once it's boiling, I'm going to let these sit in here for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take them out, and while they're still hot, that's when we're going to actually add our spaghetti sauce into them and then get on to processing that part. Okay, so we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, we're back. The lids and seals and jars have all been sterilized, and they're all here. This is kind of a nerve-wracking part of the video for me because I have one shot to do this because I have to do it while everything's hot, and I don't want to have to put everything back in there. So if I mess up or I stumble, forgive me, but we really just want to get on with it. So the first and most important thing about this particular recipe that I'm using, and with a lot of them, is it's not optional. You have to add lemon juice to your jars, okay? You have to. No matter what recipe you're using, look for in some way it's going to acidify. It's going to give you instructions for acidifying your sauce for storage. So this particular recipe, the Barbara Kingsolver recipe, she says add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each jar. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to start with that. 1, 2. I count out loud, otherwise I keep losing track. 1, 2. Okay, we're done with that part. Now the next thing you'll need is your funnel, or you can try and not use a funnel, but you're going to get it everywhere and it's going to be a mess. So I recommend that you get these products. I think they're like Presto or something, but a lot of companies make them. So, and the other thing I do is I stagger my jars so that as I'm scooping my sauce and putting it in there, I'm not dripping it on the rims of other jars. Just a tip. And before I start, I will give this one last stir. And it is delicious, by the way. The entire house smells like spaghetti, which is not my favorite part, actually. I like it right in the kitchen, but when your bedroom starts to smell like spaghetti sauce, that's a whole different story. Another tip I'm going to give you really quick is I would recommend wide mouth jars. The store didn't have them today, and I was out, so I just had to get these regular mouth ones, and they're small and it's kind of a pain in the neck. So what you're going to want to do is carefully, because this is like molten lava, get your sauce in whatever you want to scoop it with. I use a measuring cup and start pouring it in. So we're going to go through and we're going to fill all the jars, leaving, I forget if it's a quarter or a head. I forget if it's a quarter or a half of an inch headspace, but I'm going to look that up before we're done with this video. Actually, I just remembered it's a half an inch. Ta-da! Okay, the next step. This is another handy gadget that usually comes in a pack with all these different items, and I'm going to post a picture of all of them at the end of the video. But this has a magnet on one end, so you can get your lids and rings out of the hot water, and it has this part, I don't know what it's called, but we're going to use it to get the air out of the jars, so I'm going to do that now. And you just literally run it around the sides, and then I kind of cross over the middle a bit, and you'll see some air come out. I hope I'm still in the video. I might not be. That would really stink after all this. Anyway, so once you do that and you get the air out, then there's a chance that the sauce level is going to be down, right, because the air is out. So if you need to add any to make it a half an inch, go ahead and take a little spoon and add some. Or if you need to take some out. I see one here where I have a little bit more in there than I need, so I'm going to get a spoon and just take some out. Sometimes I'll just add it to another one, but anyway. Now I'm going to get a paper towel and I'm going to wet it a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that the rims, around the sides and around the top of these rims are clean and free of any food. These jars are really hot, so you have to be very careful. Ta-da! I'm very concerned that I'm not on camera right now. So I think I'm going to take a break, make sure I am, and then we'll come back for the next part, okay? Hang on a sec. Okay, phew, that was all captured on camera. I was about to have a little temper tantrum there. Anyway, now we've got the sauce in there, we've wiped the rims off, and now we're going to put the seals and rings on. So, take a seal using this magnet that I told you about. Don't touch it, because it's going to be making contact. You can touch the outside of your rings. So now we just put the seal on top and then screw the ring on top of that. And I know it would be nice if you guys were closer over here, but I don't have the equipment for that right now. But anyway, let me do this with one here. You center the seal on top, and then take your ring and you twist it on just until you meet resistance, and that's it. Stop there. You don't want to, like, really muscle it on there. You want it to just be finger tight, that's it. There we go. And we're done with that part. Now we need to get it into the water bath canner. The golden rule of water bath canning is keep the water boiling. And the reason why is obviously this is a lot of water to boil. It does take a while to get it going. So it's boiling rapidly right now. As soon as I put these jars in, it's going to stop boiling. And that's okay. It happens every time with everything you're canning. It's okay, you just put the lid on and stand here until it starts boiling. And as soon as it starts boiling, that's when you set your time. It's not from when they go in, it's from the point that the water starts boiling again, and then you set your time. What you'll need for this is this particular unit. This is the jar grabber. And you need this right now, actually, to get the rack set out, to be honest with you. Again, I have one shot to do this in this video, so if I do something weird, just hang with me, you'll be alright. Get a firm grasp on your jar and set it in position. Make sure your rack stays, the little hooks there stay on track. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I get a seal already. And if that happens, it doesn't mean anything. You still need to process them for the required time. And what I mean by I get a seal is I hear that pop. I've gotten to this point here, and I know you can't see it on video, but I can see that the water's already up to here. If I put 2 more quarts in there and lower it down, water's just going to spill out. So I'm going to edit this out, but I'm going to be taking some water out. Okay, I've removed some of the water, and I do happen to know from my experience that the water needs to be down with 5 or 6 jars in here. The water needs to be down a good 3 inches, or it's going to go over. So that's about where I've taken it down to, so we'll just give it a shot. Sometimes I have to put one in, take it out, put one in, take it out, and keep taking water out until I get it right, but we will. Okay, this is the moment of truth. Now I'm going to lower this into the pot and see if water comes out. We're very close, very, very close. Nope, I've got it. Now you put your lid back on, and like I said, stand here and wait for it to boil, and as soon as it boils, we're going to set the timer. And as a matter of fact, it's already very close to boiling. So, I'm going to stand here and watch for this to boil. When it does, the canning time for spaghetti sauce in this recipe is 35 minutes, but in the Ball Canning Guide, there's a page towards the back and it talks about altitude. If you live anywhere where there's altitude, you need to look up your altitude and find out the amount of time that you need to increase your processing. That's hot. In my case, I have to increase it by 10 minutes. So instead of being 35 minutes to process, it's 45 minutes. Sound about reasonable? It's not boiling yet. Okay, that's it for now. We'll come back to this when they're done and I'll show you what happens. Okay, the timer went off, and so what the Ball Canning Guide recommends is that once your processing time is over, take the lid off, turn your burner off, and set your timer for 5 minutes. and that just helps get a better seal. So I've done that already, and now I'm just going to take them out. Just got to seal. And you want to place them on, you know, a thick towel or something, about 2 inches apart. Got another seal. Another seal. This is fun. Right on video. Seal. And that's it. All in a day's work. Actually, this was 2 days. And that's it. These jars need to stay here undisturbed, meaning don't let your family come up and poke the tops or pick them up or anything for 24 hours. They just need to sit and chill out and just do nothing. Take a break. They've been through a lot, right? So just let them sit here for 24 hours. Okay, we're back. And yes, I'm wearing different clothes because it's tomorrow now. What happened was I filmed the final segment of this video, and then last night I was eating dinner and I realized I forgot like this super important thing. And yes, I know I could have put just a comment in Facebook when I posted the link in Facebook, but this is YouTube, and it's entirely possible that this video is going to be seen by lots and lots of inexperienced canners down the line, and so they're not going to see that Facebook comment. So I knew I needed to reshoot it. So that's why I'm wearing a different shirt. Anyway, but before I tell you about the super important step, I wanted to also remind you, because I forgot before, make sure you write the date that you canned your food on the seal, on the top here, because they say that home canned food lasts about a year. So you're going to want to know when you canned it, right? Okay, so getting to the super important critical thing that I was going to tell you. After you've processed your jars and you've let them sit there for 24 hours and you can push down on them, you know they're sealed, then this is the important critical step. Take the rings off. Ditch them. You don't have to throw them away, but get rid of them. Take them off of here. And here's why. The sole purpose of the ring during canning is to keep the seal on. That is its only purpose. So obviously if you filled this with food, put the seal on, and plopped in your canner, it's just all going to come out and you're going to have a bad day. So that's why we use the rings. But after, you should be able to lift your jar up. I keep putting this down and I need to hold on to it. After you've canned your food and that doesn't push down, that button on top doesn't push down anymore, then you know you have a seal. The second way to check to make sure that you have a good seal is to lift your jar up by the seal a couple inches. And if you can do that, you have a great seal, okay? Now, let's say you go ahead and put this in your pantry or down in your basement or wherever you're storing it. Unbeknownst to you, there's bacteria under here. Well, you're not going to know that just by looking at it. And you've done everything you're supposed to do, and somehow you still get bacteria under there. Well, the seals are your friend because bacteria grows up, and so what it does is it will actually push this seal off. The seal may not pop off, but when you go to do that little lift test, it's going to come off. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm not eating that. And then you'll move on. On the other hand, let's say you are like me and you didn't listen to your sister when she was teaching you how to can, and you just felt it was more practical to keep your rings on. Okay, this is an old jar from a few years ago. So I left this ring on. First of all, I can't even undo it. I mean, I could if I really tried, but it's like stuck. That's not a good sign. So remember, on the one without the ring, if bacteria gets under there, that seal is going to be not sealed anymore, and you're going to know. With this one, well, what happens is that the bacteria that probably is under there, I don't know, but let's say you got bacteria under here, that seal the bacteria is going to push on the seal, the seal is going to unseal, but now you have this ring on here that you didn't take off because you don't listen to your sister and you think you know everything until you left the ring on, and the ring is now putting pressure on your seal, and guess what? It reseals the seal. You're making a sandwich one day and you think you want some pickles, so you go down the basement, you grab a jar, you come up, and then emergency room, okay? Not a good scene. So just take your rings off. They do not hold the seal on. If they held the seal on, I mean, just imagine if you had this jar and you took the ring off and you got your little can opener thingy and you popped the seal off, and then you decided that's all the pickles you wanted, so you put everything back together and just put this back in the basement unrefrigerated. Well, that if this isn't sealed, that's essentially what you're doing, and obviously it would spoil. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so, and you know, this isn't to scare you either. Obviously, people have been canning for a long, long time, and I meant to look up how long before I did this, but I forgot. So if anybody knows when canning was invented, or, you know, some interesting canning tidbit, post a comment and let us know. Anyway, it is fun to can. It's fun, it's a great sense of accomplishment, and I've said it before, you've heard me say it, there's just nothing better than cracking open a jar of summer when there's a foot of snow outside. So if you're inclined to try it, go for it. Just make sure you get yourself a canning guide, like I said earlier in this video. Okay, and finally, my Facebook announcement. Since I've been doing videos, I've gotten a number of friend requests, and I just love that. I totally love it. I'm honored actually that you guys would want to interact with me, and I think it's just great. And I want to interact with you too. But because these videos are they're marked as public on YouTube, I don't want, you know, worlds collide. I don't want that to happen. So, pardon me. I want to keep my personal Facebook page separate. You know, that's primarily close friends and family, and so I'm sure you guys understand. I want to keep that separate. So what I did is I created a Facebook page, and it's called Love Your Land, just like my YouTube channel. So, so if you guys would do me a favor and go over there and hit like on that page, and then we can all hang out in there, and that'll be fantastic. And then I encourage you to post, you know, gardening and canning pictures, and ask questions, and leave comments, interact with each other, interact with me, and we can grow this page together, and I think it'll be really fun. So that's it for now. I'm exhausted. By the way, I've had to shoot this reshoot, I don't know, 9 times I think, because I keep cutting off my head. So if part of my head is cut off, it's fine. If you can see the jars, that's really all I care about at this point, because I'm done. Anyway, thank you so much for canning with me. That was a lot of fun. It's always more fun to can with friends, and I'm always doing it by myself. So thanks. I hope you enjoyed canning with me too. And so that's it. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? See ya.